First of all, it would take someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much.
That's Karoline Leavitt, y'all, casually wrecking The View's hosts for running their mouths with nothing to back it up. In just 25 seconds, she completely shuts them down, exposing how they spew opinions without any real facts to support their arguments.
Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing.
Here's the deal. When you don't have real arguments, you just keep talking in circles, hoping no one notices. But guess what? The voters do notice, and they're not exactly lining up to support the out-of-touch ladies of The View. Maybe it's time they stepped outside their bubble and faced reality. For years, Whoopi Goldberg ruled The View like a queen, shutting down guests, bulldozing opposing opinions, and delivering her takes like they were carved in stone. But in one jaw-dropping moment, her iron grip on daytime TV cracked. And the person responsible? Karoline Leavitt. Nobody saw it coming. The episode started like any other. Smug grins, eye rolls, and a panel of hosts nodding along in perfect left-leaning harmony. Then came the topic of wokeness. Now, if you know The View, you know they treat wokeness like a sacred text, something to be worshipped and defended at all costs. And Whoopi, she was feeling untouchable.
Statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you know who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you?
And just like that, boom, the energy in the room shifted, the audience tensed, and even Joy Behar, who's made a career out of clowning conservatives, looked uneasy. And what happened next? Oh, you already know. Predictable, smug, and just plain exhausting. After years of hosting The View, you'd think Whoopi would come up with something fresh, something unexpected, but nope. Same old script, same dismissive attitude, and the same overused attempts to downplay anything that doesn't fit the show's narrative. With a well-practiced smirk, Whoopi leaned in and hit Karoline Leavitt with another dismissive remark, twisting her words into a tired, mocking narrative. She ridiculed the idea that the on-air snub proved a certain someone wouldn't get fair treatment in the upcoming debate. Then, in classic Whoopi fashion, she rolled her eyes and sarcastically played it off as just another case of, oh, everything's rigged, the whole world is against me, complete with a weird noise for dramatic effect.
Yeah, I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
And then, Whoopi doubled down. This wasn't just her usual snark. She didn't just challenge Karoline's argument, she went for her. She dismissed her career, her intelligence, and her work ethic, reducing everything she had achieved to nothing more than a product of the very ideology she stood against. It was meant to shut her down, to humiliate her, to remind her that she wasn't in control. But Karoline? She didn't flinch. No wide-eyed panic, no defensive stammering, no scrambling for a clever retort. Instead, she did something that no one saw coming. She smiled. Not a smirk, not an arrogant grin, but a slow, confident smile. The kind that says, oh, you just messed up big time. It wasn't forced, it wasn't performative. It was the smile of someone who knew she had the facts, the receipts, and the composure to completely flip the script. And that's exactly what she did. Karoline launched into her argument with precision, armed not with emotions or buzzwords, but with hard facts, numbers, statistics, and government records that left little room for dispute. She laid out the details with methodical clarity, exposing how taxpayer dollars were being redirected into programs that seemed more about ideological influence than practical governance. She pointed to government-funded gender study programs in Guatemala, Sesame Street adaptations specifically designed to push American social activism onto foreign cultures, and a long list of other eyebrow-raising initiatives that sparked more questions than answers. With each example, she connected the dots, making it impossible to ignore the overarching trend. Wokeness, she argued, had evolved from a simple social movement into a full-fledged political weapon, one designed not to uplift marginalized voices, as it originally claimed, but to control discourse, silence dissent, punish those who refuse to conform. The audience, once casually clapping along to Whoopi's remarks, now seemed noticeably more attentive. Some nodded along, others exchanged skeptical glances, perhaps realizing for the first time that they had never seen these figures laid out this way before. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her sharp wit and unapologetic demeanor, had been smirking through most of the conversation, until now. As Karoline continued, Whoopi's posture changed. She shifted in her seat, her hands moving as if searching for something solid to grasp onto. She was used to guests stumbling through their arguments, fumbling over words as they tried to keep up with her. But this time was different. Karoline wasn't giving her an opening to mock, dismiss, or derail the discussion.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Then came Karoline's most striking point. She addressed the blatant double standards in political discourse, how conservatives were often demonized simply for advocating basic principles of national interest. Instead of slowing down the controversy or offering any kind of apology, Whoopi fired back with full force. This wasn't just a casual disagreement, it was a complete erasure of Karoline's career, intelligence, and hard work, all in one dismissive swipe. Whoopi reduced Karoline's success to nothing more than a product of an ideology she actively opposes. It was cold-blooded, and the audience felt it. Still, like trained seals, they clapped along. But Karoline, she didn't flinch. The attack was blatant. And then, Joy Behar, never one to miss a chance to stir the pot, made a comment that left viewers stunned. The implication was clear. Karoline's entire career boiled down to her looks. Not her qualifications, not her intelligence, not her hard work. The hypocrisy was deafening. Fox News host Joe Scarborough didn't hold back in his response. He pointed out that Karoline had built her career brick by brick. She attended St. Anselm College. She worked for WMUR in New Hampshire. She ran a congressional campaign at just 25 years old, one that, despite her loss, was highly competitive. She went on to serve as Trump's campaign press secretary, appearing on TV daily, even while heavily pregnant. And now, at just 27, she had made history as the youngest ever White House press secretary. Yet none of that seemed to matter to The View. Instead of acknowledging her accomplishments, they chose to belittle her. The same people who preach about uplifting women were the first to tear one down. And this is where the irony hits like a freight train. Day after day, they sit there pushing the idea that women should support each other, break barriers, and celebrate success. But the second Karoline steps up, boom. Suddenly, all that empowerment talk disappears into thin air. Instead of recognizing her intelligence, hard work, or accomplishments, they reduce her to nothing more than her looks. It's like their so-called feminism only applies when the woman in question fits their narrative. And let me tell you, people noticed. The backlash was swift and brutal. Critics and viewers alike called them out for their blatant hypocrisy. I mean, how do you claim to champion women's empowerment while tearing down a young, accomplished woman in the same breath? The contradiction was deafening, practically screaming through the television screens. Social media exploded. People pointed out how the hosts of The View had just exposed their own double standards, without Karoline even needing to lift a finger. But here's where it gets really good. Karoline wasn't about to sit back and take it. Oh no, she fired back. And she didn't just defend herself, she exposed The View for exactly what they are. Out of touch, agenda-driven drowning in their own hypocrisy. She called them out for silencing women who don't fit their mold, for pretending to be champions of diversity, while rejecting any viewpoint that challenges their echo chamber. And the best part? She did it all with poise, confidence, and receipts. And just like that, the narrative flipped. Karoline didn't just survive the ambush, She owned the moment. While The View exposed their hypocrisy for all to see, she stood her ground with grace, intelligence, and undeniable facts. The backlash was swift. The internet wasn't buying the double standards. And in the end, one thing was crystal clear. You can try to silence the truth, but you can't stop it from being heard. Karoline walked in as a guest and walked out as the winner, on fire.